Welcome to Women Mastering Midlife, where we dive deep into the rich complexities of womanhood in our middle years. I'm your host, Victoria Bird, a pharmacist, certified women's health coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, thriving in menopause, or mastering midlife's many transitions, this is your weekly dose of expert guidance, compassionate support, and a judgment-free space to explore it all. Together, we will rewrite the narrative around this remarkable stage from being something to dread into a beautiful transition. So hi, Melody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to get into this topic.
I am too. Thanks for having me.
So you and I met, how many years ago was it? 3 years? Something like that?
I think so.
It's
just
been
around
a few.
3.
Yeah. And we did some business mastermind work in a group together. And then our passions kind of aligned and we've just stayed connected since then. So I've been watching what you do with your CBD business. And, being that you're a nurse by trade, you have the background to understand anatomy and physiology. And so I kind of wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of CBD, especially around the holidays. It's December, so we've already survived Thanksgiving. Some of us have probably experienced more than we want to of our families. And we're heading into the Christmas crunch of school programs. I don't know about you, but we have the choir concerts, the school programs, the Christmas parties for work, and then the family stuff. And it just feels very overwhelming. And so I want to talk to you about CBD and if it's something that's right for women to talk about during the holidays, especially in life in general, and kind of break down what it is and how it works so people can make an educated decision for themselves.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So as a former nurse, what led you to become an advocate for CBD products, particularly in midlife women?
Well, as the pandemic was ending, I decided to follow my passion for health and wellness and became a certified personal trainer. I started running a virtual training business. And most of my life, I have struggled from what I've come to realize is anxiety. At the time, I didn't know what I was feeling, why I was going through it. I would just kind of push through it and move on. And once I started seeing people talking about their anxiety, their overwhelm on social, I started paying attention and kind of taking note. I personally did not want to turn to medications. I did not want the side effects. I'm just not really a medication taker. So I started to look at other options because trying to start a business, I had the kids home with me, we were doing schooling, and I had just felt like I had reached my capacity when it came to my stress level. And I knew that I did not want to pass that anxiety, to pass the stress on to my children. I wanted different for us. And I stumbled across another mom who was talking about how she started using CBD for her mom rage. And it really made my ears pop. So I started looking into CBD. I looked into the company she was talking about, and it was actually founded by a mom. It checked all the boxes, and I decided I had absolutely nothing to lose from giving it a try. They offered a 30-day money-back guarantee. I figured the worst thing that happens, I try this for a little bit. If it doesn't work, then no big deal. Get my money back and move on. To my surprise, which I am a skeptic of many things, it worked. And I noticed a difference within a couple days. I noticed that things that would have set me off weren't setting me off. I just felt more calm, more relaxed, and that I was not flying off the handle. I was being more proactive rather than reactive. And so that's how I got started. And I knew that there was something to this and that I could help other moms. As I started transitioning to more of that midlife change, I needed even more support, right? My hormones were out of whack. I have never had a regular cycle ever. And the past 2.5 years, I am like clockwork. So it was just something I felt very compelled to share with others in order to help.
And you've been really open and vulnerable with your story of your anxiety and your interactions with your children and how they've improved and how they've changed. And I think that a lot of people can really relate to that. So I do appreciate, I love watching your stories unfold on social media for sure, because I think that it is so relatable for so many women. And there isn't a lot of conversation around, it almost feels like we're not allowed to have any anxiety or mom rage. And to see that there are women that experience it, they're talking about it, and this is what they're doing to help themselves. It's really been helpful for myself and a lot of other people.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm doing my job then. Sharing and helping, right? Like that's why we do what we do. We want to help other moms and women.
Yeah. So my background is in pharmacy, and I learned in pharmacy school about cannabis. That's what we talked about. And so when CBD hit the market, I was very hesitant to try it, to share it. I just connected it with marijuana. And for us in pharmacy school, any kind of substance like that would obviously get us, our license could be taken away, or we could lose, our education. So I just was very reluctant, but there is a difference between CBD and marijuana. So can you tell people who don't know what the difference is? Could you kind of break that down for us?
Absolutely. So a very common misconception between CBD and THC is that they are one of the same, and they absolutely are not. They are both two compounds that come from the cannabis plant, but they react differently within your body and you have different results from them. So CBD is going to be more of your wellness, and THC is going to be a little more of a recreational product, if you want to think of it that way. CBD binds to one or two of your receptor sites on your endocannabinoid system. And I don't know if you learned about the endocannabinoid system in pharmacy school. I will tell you, never once in nursing school did I ever hear about the endocannabinoid system. So this system was found in about 1990s, and it was found that all mammals have this system. Within the system, we have two receptor sites. When you take CBD, it's going to bind to one or both of those receptor sites and go to wherever your body is maybe overworking, underworking, and bring it to balance. The whole idea behind CBD is homeostasis. And our body produces cannabinoids, actually. So it's not a foreign substance to our bodies. Our body recognizes it. And some of us can actually have deficiencies. I'm not going to talk too much on that because I just kind of start stumbling into that and don't have tons of research, but it is being linked to autoimmune disorders and other diseases, which is very interesting. When you think about THC, that's the compound that's going to be found in marijuana. THC is the one that's going to produce that high and those active effects, whereas CBD is going to be more for health and wellness. I think as we start talking and educating more about CBD, people are going to start being more aware of the difference. THC certainly has its place. Someone who is in a lot of pain, chronic pain, THC is certainly going to help them. But actually, someone who is dealing with anxiety, it's been shown that CBD is actually going to be more beneficial than THC.
Okay. So that's a nice way to bring it down. So they extract the CBD from the plant, and that's how you get the products versus the THC. And they're like, is that how that works? There's like an extraction process?
Yes, there's an extraction process. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people just think all CBD is created equal. It is not. One of the factors in having a high quality CBD product is going to actually be the extraction method. So you want to make sure you're using, like at Green Compass, we use something called a CO2 extraction, and that's kind of the gold standard for extraction method. There's actually about 150 cannabinoids within the cannabis plant. So they get in there, they take that CBD out, they're extracting and using the CBD.
Okay.
Does that
So
answer your question? I think so.
yeah.
Okay.
So for the holiday season in particular, because that's where we are, um, how can CBD potentially help manage holiday related stress and anxiety? How would you recommend a new person, like if a woman comes to you and says, like, I can't take the holidays anymore, please help me?
Okay. Well, my first response would be stop waiting, because I think we know this when it comes to health and wellness, not just CBD. The longer you wait to get started, the further behind you fall. And for some people, it can take a couple of weeks for your body to adjust to the CBD. So you want to make sure that you are getting that on board as soon as possible. And we are all dealing with the stress, the chaos, the overwhelm of the holiday season. Part of that being obviously stress in and of itself from all of the things we have to do. CBD actually binds with different receptor sites, including serotonin, that feel-good hormone. And so it's going to help improve your mood. It's going to help calm your body. It's going to help relieve some of that stress. It also helps think about all the social things we have to do. We're always out and about in the holidays. We've got to have all these conversations. And if you're someone who's dealing with social anxiety, that can be extremely stressful and extremely scary for you. And CBD can help you feel more in control, less afraid, and able to conversate with people. Sleep is another huge thing. If you're not sleeping well, your stress level is going to be through the roof, right? We know that stress and sleep go hand in hand. CBD helps relax your mind. It helps relax your body so you can get quality sleep. So you can sleep through the night, not waking up frequently, and you can wake up feeling more rested and feel your best. Also during the holidays, when you think about it, you're at a higher risk of getting sick. First of all, you're interacting with more people, the germs are around, and then you are stressed, you are not sleeping, and so your immune system is compromised. CBD is going to help strengthen your immune system. It actually really helps people who are dealing with autoimmune disorders with the regulation. And we also tend to have a little bit of issues with emotional eating when we are stressed. And then bring in the holidays, you've got the cookies around, you've got all of the parties, all of the things, right? And by helping regulate your stress, regulating that cortisol, it's going to make it easier not to overeat, to indulge, because you're emotional eating, and CBD also helps with metabolism. So many things going on over the holiday besides just stress in and of itself. You've got the physical symptoms of it, right? Like some of us get headaches from stress. Some of us get back pain. Some of us, notice our joints are aching, and it all comes together. And if you can get a hold of your stress, these other things are going to start falling into place and you're going to feel better. But I would not wait.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I was thinking about when you're talking about the stress of the holiday season, and I am very introverted when it comes to like being in parties and social surroundings. And I don't like having conversations with people I don't know very well. And there's a lot of that goes on because you get invited to the work party or whatever with your significant other. And then you're having conversations and it makes you nervous. So then you want to drink, and alcohol consumption is not the answer. And so then, because especially for us, for me, it affects my sleep. I get hot flashes. I get night sweats if I drink. Plus, it also, then you don't really have control over what you say sometimes. And then you regret the alcohol that you had at the party. So it sounds like CBD is a much better alternative to hitting the cocktails and the booze at the holiday parties.
So much better of an alternative. Actually, there's a lot going on right now on social media of people moving more to the side of sobriety as opposed to, right? We're seeing that shift. And a big reason for that is, especially during midlife, the alcohol, you know this, you've talked about this, I know this, it doesn't coincide well. It doesn't do well for our hormone balance. It's terrible for sleep. I don't know about you, but I have a drink or two and I can't sleep.
Yeah. I had an old fashioned last night. My husband, we had a dinner with some colleagues for Greg, and I had 2 old fashions. It was a really bad idea. I mean, they're delicious, but I totally regretted it. Last night I woke up, my Oura ring told me I failed sleep. And, and then I was like up all night long. I did have night sweats, and I'm even on hormones. So it doesn't even matter if you're taking estrogen and progesterone. You drink alcohol, it's still going to ruin you. But I was a little nervous to make small talk with people I don't know. And so it took the edge off, but that's not the right answer. It's definitely not the right answer.
And the same way, like you'll find yourself, it takes the edge off. I find that if I have a half jelly before we go out, it takes a little bit of that pressure off, that pressure of, I'm sure you felt that, where you're standing there trying to make small talk with someone and then like you walk away and you're like, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I say that? But in the moment, you can't think of something to say. So you're just like, whatever comes out, right? And I just feel that I'm not on edge driving to the event. I can like take some deep breaths and, you're in control of yourself. It's not like you're out of control, but you just feel a little more relaxed, and you're walking in a little more relaxed than having to have 1 or 2 cocktails to get to that point.
And it's not the feeling of like being stoned. That's the thing that I think people don't understand. Like,
no,
CBD doesn't, I don't know how to explain it, because I'm thinking about my past experiences in life. There's a different feeling of taking CBD and going to a function or having it before bedtime or even driving with it. I mean, driving.
No, there's no regulations.
Anxiety. And there's been like no issue with having CBD and driving versus smoking a joint or having an alcoholic beverage and driving. And a lot of women I've talked to have actually had extreme anxiety develop around driving during midlife. Like there's something with the lack of progesterone that just makes them afraid to drive at night or in busy situations, and they've never had that issue before. And so knowing that taking CBD before that will help calm and regulate your system without obviously compromising your ability to operate a vehicle, which is also a better
you can't
thing.
show up in the school line drunk, right? It's probably frowned upon.
Probably.
I think people, and I think that's part of the misconception too, is not quite understanding, one, how you can take CBD and it can do so many different things. Mm-hmm. And 2, how to differentiate between CBD doesn't necessarily make you feel very differently. I like to describe it as, instead of feeling differently, it's more of having the absence of symptoms, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not that it turns you into this happy dancing around the house type of person. It's just that, for so long I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, like just weighed down by everything. And I feel like getting a handle on my stress with CBD, it's kind of like lifted these shoulders back up where I don't have the weight weighing me down, but I'm able to take a deep breath before I react, before I automatically, I did a reel the other day about how as moms, our kids say our name, and a lot of times our first reaction is what? Mm-hmm. And even though we don't realize that, if someone responded to me, if I was trying to get my husband's attention and he responded, what? It automatically kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And so by taking CBD, I feel like it allows me to take a breath. And before I respond with what, I can take a breath and yes, not using a fake voice, but just yes. And even my girls, when I respond what, they're like, can you use your nice mom voice? And I don't speak in a Miss Rachel voice. That's not me. This voice is the voice you get all the time. But normally, if you're responding what, it kind of sounds abrasive.
Yeah.
And so just those little things like that. For example, I was someone that I was mentally and physically exhausted. I would go to bed And I would lay there for 1-2 hours because my mind was racing of all the things I didn't do right in the day, all the things I should have accomplished that I didn't, all the ways I had failed as a mom. And it would just keep me up at night. I was on a hamster wheel. And when I started taking the CBD to help with my stress, what I didn't even realize is that I was laying down at night, I was hitting the pillow and I was falling asleep. I was staying asleep. No more of that waking up at 3 a.m., rethinking and back on that hamster wheel. So it's little things like that.
So it sounds a lot. Sense. Yeah. To me, it sounds a lot more like you're not going to recognize what it's doing. You recognize what it's done. Like,
yes.
Does that make sense? Like that.
Yes.
The feeling of like, oh, I didn't explode like I usually would, or, oh, that I got better sleep last night, or, oh, this used to be how I would react or, deal with something. And I'm not doing that anymore. Or I didn't, I didn't have to catch myself. I just naturally felt more at ease about something.
Yes. And I've had a couple people that have, taken a break from CBD and they come back to me and they're like, wow, I didn't realize all the ways it was truly helping me. So the purpose is just to balance those systems. We've got systems overworking, systems underworking. Again, it goes all back to that finding balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are there any types of people or any disease states or anything that this would be contraindicated for? Are there people that you've said, this isn't for you?
Red flag immediately for me is anyone who tells me that they are on a blood thinner. Blood thinners, don't want to mess around with blood thinners, major heart issues. It's always best to check with your doctor, right? But I am also someone who has grown to learn to do my own research. If there's someone who's on several medications, I think it's definitely best just to check in with your doctor. But also as a consumer, doing a little bit of your own research. Again, with CBD, it's not always as easy to find the research and the backing, but we're coming a long way from where we started. And trusting yourself too, because there are times that I would bring something at my annual checkups to my doctor, weight gain, all these issues I'm having, and I am quickly dismissed, right? So I think finding that balance, but definitely if you're on multiple medications, especially a blood thinner, and yes, it does not hurt to check with your doctor. But I will tell you, I have several clients on medications, including SSRIs, anti-anxiety medications, different things like that. And they started taking CBD along with those medications. Many of them have weaned off their med or definitely decreased their dose, or maybe they were on multiple meds and they've got down to one med. But yeah, it's so cool to see how far people have come.
So you were talking about doing your research. And one of the things that I've talked to you about before is the quality of the product and, finding it on, an online superstore that we all know and love. It delivers boxes to my house on a regular basis versus finding it from a vetted source. Tell me a little bit about that, because I know that there are a lot of people who just get on their app and they add in what they want to order and it magically comes in 2 days. And so that's where they get everything, but they don't recognize that not all CBD is made equal.
No, it's not. And first thing I'm going to say, if you ever find CBD on Amazon, run from it, because Amazon is not allowed to sell CBD. So if something is on Amazon and it's labeled CBD, run. Gas station CBD, run. Right now, there unfortunately are not regulations set in the CBD industry. It's a booming industry, so it's a perfect time for everyone to come in and try to make money off this industry. But without the regulations, there's a lot of poor, low quality CBD. The only way you can truly know what you are getting, where the product comes from, is by doing your research. It is very important that it is USDA certified organic. Reason for that, it takes about 6 years to obtain that certified organic, USDA certified organic title. So you know that that company has at least been out there working, doing things for 6 years. It didn't just pop up on the market, right? You want to make sure that it is third party tested, meaning they bring outside testers in to test that product. They are not employees of that company. They're outside product testers. There is also a certificate of analysis. If you have a bottle of CBD, gummies, jellies, whatever you may have, check to see if you have a COA. It's going to be a barcode on that product. And if you scan that or you click on the website, it should tell you every single ingredient that's in that product. Now, a lot of companies will do batch COAs. So that means that they'll take a huge batch of the inventory, the product, and they will have that tested. At Green Compass, we actually have a COA for every specific product container. So if you have 2 of our jars of jellies and you scan each one of them, there might be slight differences in them because they were made and tested separately, if that makes sense. And also, I talked about this a little bit before, but the extraction process. So making sure it's CO2 or carbon dioxide extracted is also very important. Finding out, is your product all the ingredients, are they all coming from the same place? At Green Compass, we grow everything, we extract it, we process it, we package it, and we ship it out. There is no middleman. It's all done farm to table style. I think that's very important. And then making sure that you have a transparent company. So having a company that is willing to share all the steps of the process and there's nothing to hide. We will start seeing regulations coming. Actually, our founders have been in Washington helping set the standards. But until then, really make sure you're doing your research and you know where your product's coming from. 80% of the CBD right now in the US comes from China. CBD is a scavenger plant, which means that it absorbs from the air and soil in which it's grown. China uses CBD to clean its air and soil pollutants. So the problem with that is they're cleaning their air, they're cleaning their soil. They've got this cannabis plant full of pollution. They process it and they send it over to us to use. So we are legitimately using a dirty product. That's why it's very important that you know where the product originated from. So if you see any CBD anywhere on the bottle that it says it's from China, do not buy it. And without the regulations, anyone can put something in a bottle and call it CBD. So there's all kinds of factors going on in this, and it can get very overwhelming and feel very scary for people. And that's why you want to make sure that you have a high quality product. If you do not have a high quality product, you could have side effects, and then it's probably not going to work for you. So I have people who have tried other products in the past and maybe haven't had results. And we start kind of breaking down, well, where did that product come from? What was used in that product? The other thing is if people are just using the stems of the product, it's not going to be as beneficial as using the actual flowering and plant. It's, it's getting, again, kind of byproduct, grounded up stems and things like that. So I could talk about this for a long time. I'm very passionate about this, clearly, but just following those few steps and making sure that it is USDA certified organic. Start there.
Do you feel lost in this midlife transition? Are you a stranger in your own body and don't have the time or energy to sift through all the information regarding perimenopause and menopause? The Women Mastering Midlife community is your solution. Get instant, on-demand access to expert guidance from a certified women's health coach and pharmacist, a judgment-free space to share your journey, research-backed resources and vetted recommendations, simple strategies for nutrition, sleep, stress, fitness, and lifestyle changes, twice monthly opportunities for group coaching, and direct support when you need it most. Stop wasting time and money on miracle solutions. Join a community of women who get it. Visit womenmasteringmidlifecommunity.com to start thriving in your next chapter. Together, we will age boldly. We talked a little bit about, seeing you using it on social media. You give it to your children, and people have given it to their children. You want to give, we work so hard to give our kids organic fruits and vegetables and, clean products. And I'm worried about makeup products that my teenagers are using, and then we would just go and buy CBD randomly off the internet, and it could have things that you don't want in them. And you try so very hard, to keep your kids as clean as possible. So speaking of kids, children use it. How did that come about? Like, if my kids are feeling anxious around the holidays or just in general in life? I know finals are tough around this final season, and we're also getting ready to start the college application process. So I know.
Big time stuff.
She's a sophomore, and we're already talking about where we're going to visit schools and things like that. So there's a lot weighing on our kids now that wasn't when we were younger. And so I feel like their anxiety levels are higher. The state of the world the world's on fire. And I feel like even though we protect them from it, they can sense it. They're smarter than we think they are. And so what if we wanted to introduce our kids to this kind of product?
Sure. So just full transparency, my daughters are 8.5. Oh my gosh, she's going to be 9 in a month, and 5.5. They have been using CBD since my youngest was 2.5. And at first I kind of started to give it to them if we were having sleep issues, if we were having issues regulating our mood. And then I found, just like I was taking it routinely, when I gave it to them routinely, it made a difference. I have a daughter who is a perfectionist, and she is very hard on herself. And unfortunately, she is very much like me, into where she is anxious, overthinks things, rule follower, all of that. And I felt that it was time to start trying it consistently to help her. I also found she was a kid who was dealing with a lot of allergies during allergy season. Here in St. Louis, allergies can really get out of control. And I noticed when she was taking over-the-counter allergy tablets, it was heightening her sensitivity. And she became sensitive to so much and just tired and whiny. And since starting CBD, we will occasionally have a tab here and there. But other than that, her allergies have really seemed to get under control. And again, it goes back to, you can't just go get any product and give it to your child. You definitely don't want to be doing that. And so I felt very confident and secure because, one, I had tried the product and I was not having any side effects. Also, considering our founder started the company because she was struggling postpartum and wanted a product that was safe for herself and her 2 children. She couldn't find one, so she went out and created it. And that gave me a lot of reassurance to see that here's another mom who was struggling and created a product that was safe for her children. And if she feels comfortable giving it to them, I've tried it myself. I know other people using it. Again, it is that comfort level. And when you start seeing the results without the side effects, you believe and you start realizing, wow, this is making a difference. And I want to help other people make a difference. So a lot of people are using Green Compass CBD to help their children who maybe are on the spectrum, who are having issues with ADHD, who have anxiety going to school, college kids. Think about I did not realize until we had relationship with college kids. I mean, I remember going to college and being a little anxious, but again, when we talk about all the added stress on our kids these days, these college kids are going off to school and some of them are kind of like, what do I do? So an age range of children, this plant is helping change their lives. It truly is. So I just, that's how I started giving it to my children and being comfortable around, or being comfortable giving it to them, because obviously I was taking it myself. And knowing a mom created this product specifically for families.
And did you notice, like I had said before, so it wasn't, did you notice after giving it to them things that were like, I don't want to say a cause and effect, but you know what I mean? Like there's things that you were seeing in your kids, like, oh, they're not doing this anymore, or they're having this experience. Were there things after they started it that you noticed?
Yes. So, I mean, things as simple as, girls, it's time to leave. Let's get our shoes and coats on. When you interrupt a kid in the middle of doing something and they don't want to get their shoes on, their coat on, it's something as simple as not having all of that conflict. And it's more of, okay, we don't have we weren't having tantrums when it was time to turn off the TV and get out the door. Not having tantrums over sitting at the table doing homework. So it was those little things. And just like in health and wellness, those small changes add up to big results and make a big difference. And the other thing I noticed with CBD is I really consider it a stepping stone into health and wellness. Had I not started using CBD, I don't know that I would have the confidence and the courage to show up on social media and share what I've been through. I don't know that I would have had the confidence and courage to start healing from past trauma. So I just love how taking that first step has opened the doors to so many things when it comes to my health and wellness.
And I've also given it to my dogs, not going to lie.
Yes.
There's dog treats, and those are actually helpful. I have 2 nervous dogs. Well, I've one hot mess of a dog, but the other one's very nervous. And especially around like the 4th of July fireworks or being left home alone for long periods of time. When I was consistently giving them, well, her especially, when I was consistently giving her CBD treats, it made a difference. I could tell that she was less neurotic. She wasn't doing the pacing with the toy in her mouth as much. And, she was sleeping a little bit better. She would be shaking so hard when fireworks were going off around us that I felt like she was going to have a heart attack. And it definitely helped to calm a lot of that in her too.
Yes. And it also helps with their joints as well.
We're getting up in age. She's like 10 now.
And that's a lot of these animals who are aging and are having trouble going on a walk, having trouble even with seizures, having trouble with blood sugar. Does so much.
That's really interesting.
It's really incredible.
Like I'm interested to see more research on the endocannabinoid system because, like you said, we didn't learn about menopause in school. We didn't learn about this system in our bodies, and I think that to dig into that research and really get more funding to figure all this out, I think could be huge for so many disease states and especially a lot of the mental health things that we're seeing lately.
Oh my gosh. I just feel like mental health, and it was, mental health has been something that has always had this stigma. I remember that as a child, and it wasn't really talked about. It was something to be ashamed of. And because we weren't talking about it, because we were trying to sweep it under the rug, it's hard to realize how many people were struggling with stress and anxiety because so many people were hiding it. But now we have all of the access to social media, and it's the constant comparison game of, well, this person's out there doing this and she looks like this and I'm not as worthy because I don't look like her. I'm not driving the car she had, on and on and on. And then on top of that, I actually did a training not too long ago for my personal training certification research. And I was doing some classes for women's health, and the instructor said something that just really stuck with me about how so many other cultures, aging is looked upon as a positive thing. It's a positive thing as we're aging. We're gaining grace and experience. But yet in our culture, we are doing everything we can from stopping looking older, from stopping, our bodies getting older. Obviously, we want to live a healthy, happy life. I'm not saying don't try to preserve your body and do things to make your body healthy. But it's just the whole way that our society looks at aging. And that adds so much stress to us as females.
Oh, yeah. and we're weak if we talk about it. And,
Yes.
And then the answer was to throw a pill at it, like you said. And, a lot of SSRIs coming onto market have done a lot of good. And I remember this might age me, but I was working as a cashier for Eckerd Drugstore in Atlanta when Prozac came to market, like brand name Prozac. And so I still can remember the little bottle and all the things. And I remember women going on it. And then there was, there's a lot of side effects with it. There's the weight gain. There's the libido. It tanks your libido. And so if you're already in midlife having hormone issues and you're adding an SSRI to your daily medication list, then you're increasing your risk of low libido. You're also increasing the weight gain, and you have the midlife weight gain. And so that's another conundrum.
All the compounded stuff.
Yeah. So having another option that doesn't have those kind of side effect profiles I'm glad. It's about time.
Yeah.
And it's about time we start talking about these things.
Well, and I think that's a big thing, is that here you go in with a complaint, and they give you something to help that particular complaint, but it adds on 5 other issues. So which do you want? Do you want the side effects, or do you want your original problem, fixed? And the thing with CBD is we're not masking the issues. We're not putting a Band-Aid on them. We're actually fixing them by balancing the body, balancing the system that is not working effectively.
So what advice would you give midlife women that are considering trying CBD for the first time?
Besides knowing that the product is high quality, the reason I also love Green Compass is because you are working one-on-one with an advocate. So as an advocate, I work with my clients. I have someone reach out to me. We have a conversation, that can be through messaging. It can be through email. It can be through telephone call, talking about the issues they are dealing with, talking about what have you tried, what worked, what didn't, what results are you wanting to get, and kind of building from there a personalized plan. Most likely, our nano jellies are going to be a great starting point for people. They're easy, they're foolproof, but I like to be able to talk to my client to find out what their specific needs are before just throwing products at them. And I think sometimes when someone finally gets the courage and they go to walk into a dispensary, that's part of the issue. So now you've bought a product off of the shelf. It could be a good quality product. It could not. And you take it home. And now what do? Sometimes we need to do a little tweaking for it to best fit your body, your needs, your routine. And when you walk out of a store, you don't have that. So I love that personalized touch of communicating with my clients, checking in on them knowing that they can come to me with any questions, if they need recommendations, if we need to tweak something. And I actually just had someone a couple weeks ago, we were talking, and she had told me, she said, had I not had you as a touch point to offer some recommendations for making some minor tweaks, I probably would have given up on it and just stopped taking it. So I think that makes a big difference, is having that community, having that resource, but you have to get started, right? I cannot force someone to take CBD. They have to be comfortable with it. They have to be ready, and they have to be receptive to it. But if you are at that crossroads where you're like, I don't like this, I don't like being stressed, I don't like the fact that I'm not sleeping, I am having hormone imbalance. It's not a magic pill, just like there is nothing that is a magical pill or cure. But it could be the stepping stone that is missing and making you sleep better, making you less stressed, and making you feel better. So yeah. I think just, and anyone who reaches out to me, there is never any obligation. Let's have a conversation. Maybe this isn't the right fit for you, but maybe there's something else I have to offer you that's as simple as offering you a little bit of health or wellness advice, and it's helped you. So it never hurts to have a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so are there specific So obviously the best way to go is to talk to you and get individualized, a discussion about where to start and what to take. But are there things that you think are a good starting point for most people?
Absolutely. So as a general recommendation, we have something called a bundle and restore kit. And I love this because it gives you the option to choose a couple of products and give them a try at a great price. It's essentially buy one, get one. We have our nano jellies, and then we have our oil tincture. Those are both our CBD products. And you can choose one or both of those to get started with, or you can add on our collagen. Our collagen is made with CBG. CBG also comes from the cannabis plant. So again, I like to have a quick conversation just to find out, do you want to try 2 CBD products? Figure out if you like the oil better, the jelly better, or maybe you're someone who likes to use both of them together. Or would you like to try the collagen along with the oil or the jelly? That's a great starting point because it's essentially, like I said, buy one, get one. And it gives you the opportunity to kind of get your feet wet and figure out what's best for you. We also have an option to add on one of our new functional mushroom products. These products are extremely popular right now because one focuses on focus and the other is immune. So you can add one of those products on and have a nice little bundle at a great starting price. It will give you a starting point, like I said, to kind of decide which product you prefer. Because when it comes down to it, the jellies and the oil, it's really a preference of, do you prefer chewing a jelly? Do you prefer putting the oil under your tongue, letting it sit there for 40 to 60 seconds, and then you just avoid eating or drinking if you can for about 20 to 30 minutes after? So that's the difference really between the oil and the jelly. And I think that I don't personally like to start people with like 4, 5, 6 products. I like to start, just a couple products. Let's get your feet wet. Let's get you comfortable with these. I'm going to walk you through taking them. I'm going to check in on you, and then we can build from there.
And I will say, as having been somebody who's purchased things from you, you do check in with us. You do. You do.
I know. I think sometimes people are like, leave me alone. I'll come to you if I need you. Just quit bothering me. But I just want to make sure, because you have this product in your hand and I want you to get your money's worth. I want you to get results.
Yeah.
So if there's something I can do to help, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember the first time I bought the jellies, I was like, I want this. I need this. I know that I will feel better when I take this. And I think I had it for a long time before I actually took it, because
you were probably afraid.
I was hesitant. I was hesitant about, to be honest, I wasn't sure I wanted to tell my husband I was going to try it because I didn't know what he was going to think about CBD. With my background in pharmacy, I didn't know if it was something that I should be saying I'm a pharmacist who wants to try it. So I was really hesitant. And then when I got over that, I was like, wow, I waited a really long time. And I don't know why I did.
Well, but think about that. We do that so much with our health.
Yeah.
And fitness, right? Something we know, like, I need to eliminate this from my diet. I need to do this. And it's a change. But what I love about this is that it's foolproof. It's supposed to be stress proof. And that's always what I tell people. I never want this to be a source of stress. This is a stress reliever. So if you forget to take it for a day or 2 days, it's okay. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. Don't stress over, I normally take it in the morning. Now I remembered and I took it at night. What's going to happen to me? Nothing's going to happen to you. It's supposed to help alleviate that stress. It's not a source of stress. But I think the getting started is probably just the hardest part. I sat on the fence for a couple weeks before I had that in my cart. And I'm like, should I do this? Should I not? And I think I probably had some of the same feelings as you, even though I wasn't currently in the nursing industry, the nurse in me, and just, growing up when I did, and the bad kids were, smoking weed and, is this okay to take? Am I doing the same thing? And, I'm so glad that I stepped outside that comfort zone and gave it a try, it's just made a world of difference for me.
Yeah, those brain on drug commercials we grew up with on Saturday mornings with
the
our
dare
cartoons. Yes. The frying pan, the brain.
And was it a bear in a big overcoat? Did you remember that? He
I
was
don't
like
remember
the
that.
Dare Bear. I think it was a Dare Bear.
Maybe.
And he had like a hat. Yeah.
I also remember the son who, like, the dad comes into his room and he was like, "Where did you get this? Where did you learn about this?" And he's like, "You, all right? I learned it by watching you."
Oh, I totally forgot about that. But now I remember that. That was very...
See the trauma response that I'm eliciting right now?
all that trauma we had from those Dare commercials and the parents smoking the pot back then.
The kids stream things these days. They don't understand what commercials are.
My kids call them ads. Ads. Can you get the ads off the TV? They don't even know. If I said commercial, I don't think they would know what that is. I really don't. Like, listen, back in the day, we had to sit there. You had to sit there for that full half hour if you didn't want to miss the show. I mean, I remember I would literally sprint to the bathroom and back so I didn't miss any part of that show.
Now they stay by the bell. Can't miss it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Miss the good
part and even some of those shows that we watched, like they gave us...
Jesse had that issue with the pills.
Was it caffeine?
Caffeine
I think it was
pills.
no-dose. Yeah. But they just made us feel so afraid of everything all the time.
Well, right. I mean,
that's how they parented us. Like, that was the way that we were parented. Yeah. Just
out
scare
of fear,
the crap
for sure.
Like, if you have sex, you're going to get pregnant. Period.
Yep.
That's just, that was the talk. Yeah. And if you do drugs, they're going to rot your brain. And, so there's just all these things that we're breaking down as we get older. I hope we don't pass on to our kids.
100% thinking that, and I will tell you that was one of my biggest fears when I started seeing my oldest. It really just kind of shook me. I don't want her on the path that I lived. I want better for her. I think we all want better for our kids. And if there was something I could do to help that, I think we all feel that same way, that we're going to do that.
I think the burnout is like the burnout mom thing is really hard because you're exhausted, you're stressed, you're tired, you blow up at your kids, and then you feel worse. And that's just such a horrible cycle it's so important to break.
It is. But one thing I will say that I have learned to do is I apologize. I call myself out. I let us calm down. I call myself out like, Mom, because by taking CBD, that doesn't make me perfect. I like to think of it as taking me from a 10 to a 2. Mm-hmm. And I still mess up. I'm still imperfectly perfect, right? None of us are ever going to be perfect. And I've stopped. I think the other thing is realizing you don't need to be perfect. They don't need you perfect. They need you to be real and human. And I think by just calling out, hey, Mom messed up. I'm really working on it. And I shouldn't have reacted that way. I'm sorry, responding mine are younger. So giving them a hug. And my oldest is, one thing I can say is all the worry I've had about her, seeing how far she's come and how she comforts her sister and how she handles situations when maybe she said things she shouldn't have said or acted a certain way. And then when I do, it brings it all to perspective that we're going to be okay. And by making some small changes, we've really come a far way, just seeing how she reacts. But I think they do appreciate that. And it's okay for them to see us struggle and to see us fail forward. I just think it helps them, even though we are so afraid of allowing them to see that and allowing them to mess up. It does, sharing our struggles with them, I think also is beneficial for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think, for me, since I've known you through work, we've never met in person. No, it's just we live in two different.
I feel like we have.
I know. Well,
but
we've had many conversations.
We have.
But over the last 3 years, I have seen what taking this regularly has done for you in opening up your ability to step into your truth, to share your business, to build your business, and being, I mean, even though you're working with a company for CBD, you are still an entrepreneur doing things on your own. And, putting aside the anxiety and nervousness of that, I've just seen you step into all of that in a much more, I don't want to say more calm, but your demeanor is calm about it. You seem assertive about what you're doing in a time in our lives when a lot of us are really just wrecks. Like we're just really, it's the age of us to be a complete disaster. Hormonally, emotionally, all the kid things, all the your parents are getting older, your relationships are getting into, if you're not divorcing, which a lot of people around me, are experiencing that. You're in a relationship for a long time at this point. That's not easy. So there's just so many reasons for us to be a hot mess. And I think that, I've seen you're leading by example in the life that you're living and the way that you're sharing what you do. I think that it's a testament to the product, not only to yourself, obviously, but to the fact that that has actually helped you. You are a good marketer of what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. But I think you feel the same way. You share things that sometimes we're like, oh, what are people going to think if we share this? And then our passion to want to help other females, I think pushes us through that fear. That if we're able to put ourselves out there and share some of our struggles and what's worked for us, then it's worth it being a little vulnerable and opening up. And that's the way I look at it. If I can help one person with the smallest thing every day, whether that's giving someone a compliment, and I just think it comes back to you. The energy you put out there comes back to you and just allows you to be healthier and happier. And that's all we can hope for with all these struggles. I mean, talk about needing a class. We need a class for midlife.
Yes.
Where is it?
Yes, I don't.
Sign me up because I'll take it, right? But do you feel like that when you're able to take a step forward, of course you're going to have steps back, but it gives you confidence and momentum to take the next step and then the next, and to keep building on it to make you healthier and happier, as opposed to just staying stuck where you are. And I think that was the thought for so long. Well, this is life. We hear that from our doctors. Normal part of aging. Everyone goes through it. This is just welcome to your 40s and your 50s. Here you are. When in reality, it doesn't have to be that way. But we have to have the confidence and the courage and take that first step to start making changes, I think is the huge part.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a beautiful place to end our conversation today. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to share in the show notes ways to find you and links to products. So we're going to do all the things in the show notes to make sure that you check those out if you have questions or you want to get in touch with Melody. And thank you. And have a wonderful holiday season with much less stress than you did before.
Happy holidays. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining me today. We will be back next week for another episode of Women Mastering Midlife. Until then, find us on Instagram at Women Mastering Midlife or Miss Victoria Bird, and join us in the Women Mastering Midlife community to continue our discussions. You'll find links to what you've heard here today, as well as ways to connect with us in the show notes below. This podcast is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. Please note the hosts, guests, and experts featured on this podcast are not your personal healthcare providers, life coaches, or advisors. The content should not be considered as professional, personalized medical, psychological, or prescriptive advice. This podcast is not a substitute for consulting your physician, therapist, local pharmacist, or relevant professionals to discuss your specific concerns and situation. The topics discussed should not be used as the sole basis to diagnose or treat any medical condition, make significant life changes, or make important decisions regarding your health otherwise. Women Mastering Midlife is not responsible for any undesired outcomes resulting from actions taken based on the information provided in this podcast. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests only and do not represent any of those other individuals or entities. Always consult with qualified professionals before making significant changes to your health, regimen, lifestyle, or medical plans.